Hello, you beautiful people, and welcome to another Seer Council Plus show in which we talk about all things Aeldari. The weekend just gone was the ITT, or for those of you who don't know, the International Team Tournament, which is a quarterly event run by UKTC. It's a massive teams event. This time it was 74 teams. And I was captaining 6 Alfarius, who have a pretty good track record in these events. I was taking the Aeldari, in fact, the Ynnari, and it was a bit different for me because I've been spending my time over the last few team events trying to get draws with Grey Knights. And this time it was a different role, one in which I had to try and win games. So, how did we get on? Well, the team did pretty well. We went undefeated, 1-3, drew 2, came 7th. I personally managed to win all my games, and I actually finished 8th overall out of 370 players, and got top Aeldari in terms of the rankings. And because of that, I obviously now have to jump on and tell the internet all about it. So, in this episode, I'm going to begin by talking about something which I've actually seen a bit more of a discussion on recently, which is how to manage play or preparing for events when you don't have much time, because that's certainly a situation I've been in. And I'm going to run through the list and the plan, and then I'm going to analyze each game. I'm going to give a rough overview of how the game went, but I'll be focusing more on, deployment, macro strategy, key events, and that sort of thing. I'll then debrief at the end and discuss my thoughts on how the tournament went, how the army played, how the units played, and that sort of thing. Okay, so hopefully you'll find it informative if you're trying to learn Ynnari or Aeldari as a whole, understand the matchups, etc. But preparation. Now, obviously, we would all love to play lots and lots of practice games with our list and fine tune it. Sometimes that just doesn't actually work out. Life gets in the way, right? And I think the first thing you have to try and do is accept that that's okay. You can only do what you can do, right? It's about acknowledging that. It's about setting and basing your expectations around that and working from there. That being said, there are some things that you can do to try and help yourself along. And this is what I did. Firstly, absorb as much content online as you can. Now, personally, I don't find 3-hour battle reports particularly useful because I just switch off quite often and I just can't focus on the overlying strategy. But there is still a lot of great content out there. For this particular event, I've got to shout out the Fireside podcast. Their members only section has videos done by Vic where he talks about Ynnari, he talks about his events. He does videos very similar to this one. And that was crucial for me in beginning to understand the process and the thought patterns and that sort of thing for this army. And in fact, I mean, some of the videos, there's 2 or 3 which I listened to multiple times, even on the drive up there in the morning. I had these videos or listening to it, just getting it in my head, just helping me really focus down. So if you're interested in playing Ynnari to a high level, definitely check out the members section on Fireside podcast. Obviously, we do videos as well. Lots of content. Creators do videos. Get involved with those. And it's not just learning about the army you're taking, it's also learning about the armies you might play. Like if you can watch videos like which just discuss the key matchups or the key armies you might be playing, you can have a better understanding of their rules and what they're trying to do so that you've got a better chance when you play them on the tabletop. Now, if you are able to get any practice games in, it's really important you make the most of it. Now, I managed to get 2 in. One was into Sisters of Battle, and basically, teammate and myself, we played through about 3 turns in about 5 hours, but there was just so much talking. Like every time we were discussing decisions, like doing take backs, working out what we should do, what they should do. And it just really helped us to analyze the game and the flow of how to try and play our armies, which we were preparing with. My second game was into MSU Space Wars. And again, it was less collaborative, I guess you would say, but there's still a huge amount of discussion going on in this game. And it wasn't, the results did not matter. It was about the process, right? Not about the outcome. And that is so crucial in trying to understand and fast track your learning of the list. And then when all else fails, just make sure you know where you're deploying your units. Okay, UKTC is really easy for this. Just load up TTS or get the terrain out on your table and just get your models out. Just where's things going to go? Do a little bit of measuring. If I go here, where can I go there? Understand the pattern of where you want to be moving your units over the course of a battle. Obviously, your deployment might be slightly based on your opponent, but just having a basic principle understanding is going to be crucial. Okay, and if you follow these sorts of things, I think you will find you are a bit more prepared than maybe you would realize. I did all of these things apart from practicing deployment. I did mean to do that on the Friday night, but I was just too tired. So yeah, and it certainly helped. So the list that I took. Now I'm at a process here, I'm a stage here where I've played one Ynnari game with a coaching client when they first came out, and nothing since then. So obviously I was scouring the internet trying to find a good basis for a list. And there were various decision points I had to make. The first was Incarn or no Incarn. The second was Incubi Brick or no Incubi Brick. And the third decision was Wraith Lords, no Wraith Lords. And for the whole process, I was generally leading towards Incubi Brick and Wraith Lords. And then Vic went 7-0 on UKTC with his list. And I was like, 20 Dark Reapers, no thanks. I was already aiming to have no Dark Reapers, so I didn't like Dark Reapers. But the more I thought about it, and then I started watching his videos, and I could kind of understand this process that actually you do need some hammer units. And actually I could see a world where Wraith Lords don't quite navigate the board as well as I would like. As such, I decided to opt for taking Vic's list. With one change, I didn't want as many Dark Reapers. So what I did was I really lent into the infiltrate. So I swapped out the third unit of Dark Reapers for a unit of Striking Scorpions. So this is the list I took. And this is a list that is very good on UKTC. If you're looking to take a list and go to a UKTC event, I would highly recommend this list. So, Yvrain, Vizark, and Incubi Brick. Okay. Their role is very simple. Well, that's a lie. There's two ways you can play this. Number one, it can run out to the middle, turn 2, and then with lethal intent, and then bulldoze towards your opponent's home field and say, deal with me. That's the way that Harley in our team has played it, and he won a GT with it. The way Vic plays it, and the way I chose to play it because it suits my style, is I hold on to it till like turn 3 or 4. It's such an amazing unit for expressing threat. Very, very rarely was this unit never came out, barring maybe one game, and then it yo-yoed back. It never came out before turn 3. Generally, turn 4 was when I started pushing it forward. I probably declared as many heroic interventions with this unit as I did charges over the course of the weekend. It fits into the vibe of the army, which is just this aura of threat emanates from everywhere your opponent looks, and your opponent goes, well, I can't move. I've got to stay where I am. Eldar is so good at, showing off this threat and making your opponent go, well, pointless me going for it. And this brick is crucial to that. Another really important part of that game plan is the Howling Banshees with the 2 Autarchs. So Autarchs just add that little bit extra. You've got the fusion gun, you've got grenades. They just give you those extra attacks at damage 3. So they're really good. and you interweave them with your other units that you don't want to get tagged, and you just threaten the heroic interventions. 2 units of fire dragons. I know Vic is currently arguing for 1 unit. Some people like to take 3 units. I like to take the 2 units, and again, stick them in a Wave Serpent, hold that middle of the board, and just threaten. And there are a couple of games here where especially one where I'll discuss how they were used and how they did impact the game without actually having to use them. Water Spiders are obviously just amazing. Their output isn't actually incredible, but they're just great for getting into a place and doing a thing. Is that a move block you need? Is it just annihilating some cheap stuff, some scoring units? Is it just move blocking or grabbing your opponent's home field and also being an Overwatch threat? Whatever. I think you have to take 3 units of those. 3 units of Rangers. I really, really liked it. Really liked it. So I had a unit on my backfield, 1 unit in the middle, and 1 unit on a relevant flank. It just gives you essentially 110 points of 2 units of just cheap block or throwaway stuff, and they've got a reactive move. The classic play is you stick one out in the middle objective, and then your opponent has a choice. Do they move onto the middle objective? If they don't move enough stuff onto the middle objective to deny your primary, you can reactive move everything else onto objective. They are still going to be within heroic intervention range of the incubi brick in the middle of the board. Do they shoot you off it? Cool, stick the objective, off you go. Do they do they take the objective with lots of OC? Cool. I'll just hide reactive move back behind the wall. Really, really nice. And 5 models on your home field also obviously just kind of covers enough ground for Deep Strike to know. Now, Striking Scorpions, I didn't get to, but in this event, I go second in every single game. Multiple times I set them up so that if I went first, they would get to strike at a key piece of the enemy's army. Something that I wanted to deal with, be that 10 flayed ones or some warped talons and that sort of thing. Every time they just ran back behind a wall. But just having that option, I really like. And they are quite choppy. And I think on reflection, I think having them, I prefer having them over the second Dark Reaper squad, personally. Or the third Dark Reaper squad, I should say. Wave Serpent for the Fire Dragons. There is a situation where you might not put both Fire Dragons in, but I did every time. Dark Reapers, 10 and 5. I quite like that. You know, the 10 aren't incredible, but they can just do a job, and your opponent is worried about them. And this is what I did find a lot over the weekend. People who'd played against Dark Reapers, maybe especially in other detachments, were really worried about them. But, you know, they can quite reasonably drop a vehicle and that sort of thing. So that was good. And the 5-man was just often used as like screening quite often, to be honest with you, or just, you know, popping out and being like, well, you can't shoot me and kill me, otherwise you're going to give me a lethal intent, etc. And finally, Scatterbikes. I've written 1x5 there. Obviously, it's 1x6. Them and the 10 Dark Reapers I actually found really hard to use. I always started both units in Strat Reserve, barring one game where the Scatterbikes started on the board. They're obviously really shooty. The problem is they do die to a stiff breeze, so therefore it's about using them. It's about using them more than once and getting the right fire lines with them. I did struggle with that at various points, but yeah, no, I think they are obviously useful, and sometimes they were excellent. So, what was the plan? We spent a lot of time working on our composition. So that's been an issue for us previously. We've kind of just got by on good pairings and player skill. We tried to have a better team comp this time. So we had JP on Tyranids, which was more of a blunting force, but could go down as first defender. We had Harley on guard, who could be a first defender looking for that light board and could play into most things, pretty much everything. We had Leon Creations of Bios, that was our punchy list. And then we had Alex on Chaos Knights, because when we were doing our Matrix, we were like, oh, actually, none of us really ever want to play Chaos Knights. Let's put Chaos Knights in our composition. And again, high OC, blunting type army. Obviously, Eldar don't want to play either. And I was on the Ynnari. So because of that, it meant that we could try and fix our pairing, so to try and get me into good matchups. I know Rob in Omegon was saying that they ended up using Ynnari as kind of like a blunting force. You don't want Ynnari to be doing that, I don't think, but it depends on how your team comp goes. And for us, I was able to pair in such a way that try and get me a good matchup, which obviously makes life so much easier. From my personal perspective, I was worried. I'll be honest with you. I don't play very often these days, so I just had a baby. I don't practice. I don't go to events. When I have gone to events, I haven't done particularly well. Very average, bang average, you could say. And obviously, we've got high expectations without Faris. In the previous 2 ITTs, we've lost only 1 match. And after this IT, we've played 15 games and only lost 1. And I was a bit worried about letting the team down, to be honest with you. So for me, personally, I was like, don't mess up, don't have any blowouts, really ease into each game, push towards the end if necessary, if the team needs me, if it's safe, if I feel like it's safe. Obviously, I don't have the instincts yet on the list, because I haven't got that many reps in, really. But yeah, that was kind of like the plan, really. And so off we go then. So round 1, I got Ynnari, got a lovely little mirror. Played into one of the Dead Red gaming teams, and pairings went pretty smoothly here. They had Chaos Knights, who I wanted to avoid. They had Custodes, who I didn't mind. I can't remember what else they had now, but I didn't mind the Ynnari matchup at all. Obviously, in theory, a mirror is either swingy or a draw. Simon's list was a mix of Azurani, Takari, and Harlequin. So he had like Incubi and a Raider, he had Harlequin Troop and a Starweaver, had some Skyweaver jet bikes, some scatter bikes like myself, a War Walker. Yeah, it was a mix of things. The thing for Simon was that he hadn't played any games with them before. And I had a couple, and I'd done a lot of research. So I kind of backed myself, but my matrix prediction was it should be, which was a 10-10. So Ynnari mirrors, how on earth do you play them? Right, well, I'm going to steal some advice from Vic here. You want to go after their Howling Banshees with your Warp Spiders. Okay, so that's an important thing. On top of that, Warp Spiders are great for jumping somewhere, split firing, and not killing something, hopefully. And therefore not giving lethal intents away. So therefore, I like to deploy the Warp Spiders quite aggressively. Stolen from Vic, just to clarify. So they kind of all started off in the middle of the board in my deployment, as did my Incubi Brick, my Wave Serpent. I had Banshees on either flank. He got first drop and put a War Walker down. I then put my Rangers on the left-hand side of the board. He put his Rangers on the right-hand side of the board. On the right-hand side, I think I had some Warp Spiders and a couple other bits. I had some Rangers in the middle. I had Striker Scorpions on the left-hand side as well. He deployed a bit more evenly as well. So he had the Incubi Brick on, as you see the screen, on the right hand side, Scatter Bikes on the left hand side. In the middle, we had some Banshees and Fire Dragons, which were obviously a bit pointless in this matchup. He had a Wraith Lord as well on the left flank. But yeah, so I went second, and he pushed up a little bit. and it was always going to be quite tentative. This game, I think I managed to get the better of the early trades. He pushed up quite aggressively turn two onto my left hand side with like a war walker, some bikes, some banshees. I had a lethal intent and heroic intervention go off. And it all because of how he did turn two, he gave me quite a bit. The message down the line was things are going well for 6++. Felt a bit bad because I think it was the bottom of turn two, and someone was like, "This is the only game that's like close." And I was in my head, I was thinking, "Well, it is close on points, but at the bottom of either two or three, I can't remember now. I like picked up the entirety of the middle of the left hand side of the board. So now that was my side of the board. He had the right hand side, but he couldn't now hurt my left hand side. And then I moved out to the middle of the board and took that. So we're playing turn 4 and 5, where I hold the middle of the board and the left flank. And at the end of the game, Simon had maybe 1 unit left, maybe 2, and I still had probably about half my army left. And I think this game very much was just me being a bit more practice with the army and that sort of thing. So yeah, finished 92.40, which was a 20-0. Beat Matrix prediction, very happy with that. And it was a comfortable win for the team as well. 70 something, 20 something, I think, in the end. So yeah, we got off to a good start. So next round, we get drawn into Phoenix 40k, who had just won 99-1. Now that is pretty terrifying. And I got World Eaters for my pairing. There were a couple of things I had to dodge. Again, can't remember off the top of my head now, actually, even though it was only a couple of days ago. But World Eaters was one that I said I would win. No pressure on me. The theory being, yes, he doesn't have any shooting to trigger my lethal intent. But I have quite a bit of fights first, and I've got a lot of screening units. So that was my theory. Played into an absolutely lovely guy called James. His list was, as he said to me, it's just the normal World Eaters list. So we all know it. Angron, Berserkers in the Rhinos, 8-bound, Exalted 8-bound. He had none of the Infiltrators because he hadn't gotten painted yet, but he had some Jackals and that sort of thing. The rest of the pairings went pretty well. We felt we paired really well. And so we just had to get the job done, really. So how did this go? Right, World Eaters. Well, obviously, the number one thing is that you need to block off that scout move and just make life a bit trickier for them. And so he didn't have any infiltrates, so I could hold my infiltrate right till the end and then see where his infiltrators and stuff was positioned, and then just block it off accordingly. The game plan was quite simple. Try and get my Dark Reapers to shoot into 8-bound at some point, and the scatter bikes. Just keep move blocking for days. It's purge the foe, which is a bit of an issue, but he can't shoot me away, so it makes it a bit easier for me. And, just gradually pick him up from distance with the move blocks in place. That was the game plan. And this is a really, really classic case of Eldar and Fire Dragons projecting a threat. So the Fire Dragons on this diagonal is quite nice. So I put Banshees and Wart Spiders top left. Quite often, sometimes the Scorpions would go top left as well. In on the inside, but I didn't do it on this matchup. I then got Wart Spiders and Banshees in the middle back out. 5 Dark Reapers Rangers in my home field, along with another unit of Wart Spiders. Just behind the big L in the middle is the Incubi and the Wave Serpent, with Rangers in that little middle bit. Sometimes, just it varies. And then I did actually deploy the scatter bikes here on the bottom, just out in the open, because I just wanted to be able to hammer down either into his natural expansion objective, which isn't actually that relevant on Purge the Foe, but also just to cover some nice lines of sight and just be able to shoot in through the middle of the board where I suspected a lot of the action would be taking place. Actually, in hindsight, I probably should have deployed them at the top of the board, because then I can move across and then get a line of sight into behind that middle L. I did something else instead, which we'll talk about in a bit. But as I said, fire dragons. So my fire dragons are sat, in the middle of the board in the wave serpent, and he's deploying. He puts Angron in the line in the middle of the board behind the big owl, as everyone does. To which I said, just so you know, if I go first, the fire dragons I can move my wave serpent up to your middle owl. I can hop out my fire dragons. They will stand on that line, and I'll shoot Angron with those fire dragons at melter range. Or I don't even know if it was melter range, but I said just so now I could do that, and he was like, "Oh right, okay." I was like, "I was just telling you in case you wanted to change what you could do." He was like, "Oh, okay." At which point Angron then moved 10 inches back, and I think this is a really classic case of Aeldari just projecting threats, because you get to turn 1, and he's like, "Oh, if I move Angron forward, then you're just going to do the same thing, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can still do that play." So again, it's just putting those threats in your opponent's head is so powerful, isn't it? But yeah, he went first. My Rangers were just deployed across the middle of the board, so he couldn't scout into me. And I'll be honest with you, I don't actually think I played this game very well. It was a bit clumsy. It was a bit messy. I kept move blocking whatever was in that natural expansion objective with these striking scorpions that just refused to die, and a wave serpent and that sort of thing. His attacks kept coming through the middle. There was one really annoying moment where I'd use some warp spiders to move block the middle stuff, staging, and he had 5 berserkers in the middle of the board. I'd gone and positioned the incubi brick closer, so if he blood surged, if something went wrong and he blood surged into me, either incubi brick would be the closer brick, and then the scatter bites let loose on these 5 berserkers. So that's 36 shots. I paid for the strat, so lethals and sustained, full rerolls to hit. I only killed 3 berserkers. And because of where he was able to pull away those 3 berserkers, he made the warp spiders the nearest. So he just blood surged into them, chopped them up, and just removed my move block. I was like, "Oh, this has gone badly." Angron flew into the incubi brick, and obviously I got to fights first. I did 12 damage. 12 damage. That is brutal, isn't it? I don't think I probably should have done 12 damage. And he doesn't pick up the incubi brick. And he only had 4 wounds left, so he then died immediately. As I said, it was just a clumsy game. I never felt fully in control. I always felt in control, but it still just felt a bit clumsy. So, for example, my Dark Reapers, I put right at the top middle of the board. I strat reserved them in so they could see, and then they shot their 10 shots into 6 exalted 8 bound. I killed 2, and then he ran off his jackals from his home field and went and chopped up the Dark Reapers. And I was like, well, that wasn't a very good point of investment, was it? So it's just like things like that. It was a frustrating game to play. I don't think I quite got it right. And I think maybe with someone more experienced in the matchup or with the army, I think I could have got punished here. I felt a bit rusty in this game. So yeah, I did enough though. So it was 95-71, which was a 14-6. And yeah, again, it was another good win for the team. I think it was another 70-something win. So yeah, we're cooking on gas. And then we get War Hamsters. Now, War Hamsters are they're a pretty good team actually. A couple of WTC players, I think, or at least one, and yeah, just all round some good players, and mostly really nice guys. And we knew it was going to be a really tough round. Their composition of their team also meant that it's really hard to get good pairings into them. At the last moment, I changed my prediction for Necrons, because Necrons into Eldar always do badly into Necrons historically. And then I was looking at this list. It's Annihilation Legion. It's lots of different destroyers. So it's got the lots of shots. 2 of the lots of shots. 3 heavy destroyers. It's got like some Scorpex, lots of Scorpet Lords, MSU, a couple of 10-man flayed ones. I'm looking at it. I'm like, yeah, I think I'm fine in this. I think I just win. And so I was just, see if I can get it. I'll give it a 4. I'll win this game. And so I got to play into James, another James. And I'm like, so how have your games gone? He's like, well, yeah. I was like, have you played into Ynnari before? He's like, yeah, I played Ynnari round 1. I was like, oh, okay. He's like, yeah, I won that game. I'm like, oh, no, that's not ideal. Okay, fair enough. And then it's like, yeah, we just played against Toys of Mass Destruction. I was like, oh, yeah, they're a good team. Yeah, we won that really easily in the end. I was sweating off in my game, but, didn't actually need to. I was like, oh, who did you play in Toys of Mass Destruction? Like, James Marsden. Like, well, James Marsden's like one of the best players I know and is multiple tournament winner. And, oh, you beat him. I'm like, oh, no. Maybe I've misjudged this quite badly. And I don't know whether that was that. For those of you who have followed the channel for a while, you may know I've got an appalling track record when it comes to quarters deployment. I've lost something like 8 of my last 9 games on it. I'm not in good form on it. And so I'm starting to think like, oh, have I screwed the pooch here? And you know what? I actually think that helped me a bit because I played probably one of my best games in quite a while. I went second again, which was a shame because my Scorpions are deployed on the left-hand side, 7 inches just out of my deployment zone. So if I go second, they can scout back into safety. But if I go first, they're going to chew up 10 flayed ones on his natural expansion objective and leave that natural expansion really hard to defend. But I went second, so they ran away, and it was sad times. The hard thing to do in this matchup is something that I didn't mention on the list description. She's got a Transcendent Catan. And James immediately does the thing that I really, really don't want him to do, which is teleport this thing straight over to my left flank. I can't kill it. It takes a big all-in on me to kill it. And if it goes wrong, I just lose most of my army and the Catan's still alive. And if it goes right, I still lose a lot of my army on the shoot back and fight back, I think. So I was kind of like, how do I manage this? And I kind of did that. So you only put a little bit of OC on the top left. So I was able to deny that with striking Scorpions and move block the Catan. Bottom right-hand corner, I had some Rangers set up. I had some Howling Banshees ready to run over there. And everything else was kind of like in the middle, ready to push out to where to be. He then kind of came sneaking around the right-hand side. Didn't want to put anything out. He put out one Scorpec destroyer unit in the middle just to try and bait some stuff out, and I just put 5 Dark Reapers out and just shot and killed 3 Scorpecs, so that was fine. Denied primary, gave him a 5. He then started trying to deny my primary, but the mistake I think James made, now he was a very good player, very technical, and an absolute delight to play, like really honest. We worked together really collaboratively. So I really enjoyed this game. In my opinion, James's mistake was that he didn't play around lethal intent very well. So for example, turn 2, I put 5 Wart Spiders on his home field objective, and shot into the flayed ones on his side. I killed 8 annoyingly, but stole his primary. Then he could just have charged them with a Scorpec Lord, like just tag them, like they don't do anything, just keep them tagged, it's fine. Kill them if you can. But instead he moved a Doomsday Arc around and shot them and killed them. And what that then enabled me to do, and he did this sort of thing 2 or 3 turns, maybe 2. And what that enabled me to do was then lethal intent my incubi brick out to the middle of the board, just touch the edges, and it gave him a bunch of like 10 and 11-inch charges from inside the ruin, which he kept rolling. In Annihilation Legion, their detachment will always reroll charges, so he just kept re-rolling. He's never made a save. But I was kind of like, it's all fine. I'm not spread out that far. If he makes all of them and can split the edges, and then it's a bit hard for me to chew through you, but I think I've still got a good chance of chewing through you. And then just taking a primary and then falling back, and it gave me quite a big primary lead, and I had bottom of turn. And the whole time it kind of felt like a 12-8 or that sort of thing. And I drew quite nice cards at the end, he sent forward a score Pet Lord, and then turn 5 I drew Assassinate. It's like that sort of thing. But yeah, a really good game, and I think I played it pretty well. I was really happy with how I played this game. So it managed to be a 13-7 win for me, 96-77. It would have been a 14-6, but I had to allocate my scatter bikes across 2 units, and 4 scatter bikes killed 3 flayed ones, which doesn't really feel that likely. I don't think. I feel like I should have probably killed the 5 remaining flayed ones with 24 scatter bike shots. Lethal sustained, rerolling ones to hit. But I didn't. And that was a 9-point swing. But yeah, we managed to not win that round. So across on the other side, we had Harley, who's playing to Admech, and he scraped an 11-9. JP drew Tenor into Custodes. I think Chaos Knights lost 8-12 to Blood Angels or something. And then Lee, with his Bile, lost to a horrendous Demons List with like 150 odd bodies, 6-14. So we actually got a losing draw in that game. Which was a bit frustrating, but I don't know whether it was a pairings issue or not. It's hard to say. So yeah, we were finishing down 2 wins and a draw, which is pretty good. I was happy. I was feeling good. I was feeling confident. And so round 4, we drew a good friend of ours, Grimdark Garage. No, they've got a guy called Alex Gins who's I think he'd lost 1 competitive game in the last 2 years playing Votan. He's an amazing player. Got Michael Boyle, very, very good player, Empress Children player. They had a CSM list, they had a Ynnari list, they had lots of demons list. So I'm like looking at this, I'm like, well, I'm favoured into Votan, but Alex is an exceptional player. So I'd love to play the CSM. I'll take the Ynnari mirror because I'm feeling really confident at the moment. On good form, I feel like now. Something's clicked. Don't really want to play big demons. And I'll take on the EC game, but Michael's very good, and he's played into EC before. I know the theory behind the matchup, but I haven't played it. And as it was, pairings went pretty much as perfectly as we could have wanted. Harley got his guard into the Votan, which he really wanted. I got this game, which I said I'd bring back a good win on. Ynnari into Tyrannid. JP was confident in. He built his list to be able to tackle Ynnari. Lee into EC was very interesting because Lee thought he would win and Michael thought he would win. And then CK into Demons, we were a bit worried about, but we were like, just try and keep it close. So here, yeah, I'm feeling confident. I've said I'm going to go get a win. I've got to go get it. Again, James, I know that four of my opponents' names began with the letter J, and I keep calling them all James, but I've just suddenly realised 3 out of the 4 weren't called James. So I'm now going to correct that just in case you're listening, guys. My World East opponent was Joe, not James. I'm very sorry, Joe. I was playing James. This was a James. Sorry, I'm really, really tired. It's quite late as I'm filming this. And he was playing a list which I would classify as a bit of a dream for me. Shooty CSM. I mean, he had double Forge Fiend, double Vindicator, but he had like one unit of Chosen with a Lord. He had Abaddon with some Chosen, one unit of 5 Warp Talons, like 3 units of Cultists and Traitor Guard. It just wasn't that much stuff, and quite a lot of it was shooting. And I was like, I feel like I eat this up. Again, I went second, which again was a shame because my Striker Scorpions were in a similar place, this time ready to go and eat some Warp Talons, which were the only thing that could really cause me an issue. Which were deployed in the middle of the board. But yeah, and James moved some bites up to the top left flank. I deployed in the same way as I'd done before, so I'm putting 2 units of Warp Spiders and a unit of Howling Banshees on the left-hand side. Got Wave Serpent, Incubi Brick, and Banshee unit in the middle, and Warp Spiders in the middle, and Rangers. Rangers on my home field. Dark Reapers in the middle because I'm deploying them near where that 18 is at the bottom center, so I can move them out and then try and shoot into various angles. And then the Banshees are looking to run over to the right hand side and then start, protecting that with a heroic if the Rangers get charged and reactive moves and stuff. And Warp Spiders can run over there, and whatever Fire Dragons can get over there, etc. James deployed quite defensively. As an Eldar player, if I see my opponent deploying defensively, I'm immediately happy. So he had stuff in his big L hidden, and that sort of thing, quite far back. And because of that, that really gave me a bit more confidence. And the flow of this game kind of went as I thought. I stuck a Ranger unit out into the middle objective. He denied me. I then kind of sacrificed my scatter bikes onto the right-hand middle little rectangle to take out 20 Traitor Guardsmen and 10 cultists, or nearly all 10 cultists. Because eventually he runs out of stuff that he can keep putting out in the middle to deny the primary. And then eventually, sure enough, there was this turn where I went, if you do this, I can do that. We're playing this really positive, happy, collaborative game. Like, James was an absolute delight to play. And I felt really bad because there is certainly this fact of, like, with Eldar, you can get into a trap as a player of keep going. Well, if you do this, just so you know I can do this. And you're almost putting your opponent off doing anything. And that actually feels a bit bad because actually it might well be that they should be doing those things. Although you're informing them, you're kind of also directing their play, especially if they're not as confident as you. They'll think, oh, well, in which case they're kind of implying I shouldn't do that, so I won't do it. And that's not the intention at all. I just don't want them to do something and be like, oh yeah, of course you could have done that. But at the same time, there's so many things you can do. So it's a bit of a hard balance to strike. So James, if you're listening, I hope it was all okay. Because there was like this one moment I was like, I could lethal intent bottom right or top left. And I kind of opted towards the bottom right, and then he was like, well, I guess I would cancel my cleanse, and then I'd be able to charge you with other stuff, and he wouldn't have been able to cancel his cleanse because once you've declared it, you can't stop it. Anyway, but eventually I was just like, you know what, I want to go top left. You're right. And it was a really good play. So basically what happened was he was going to charge some Warp Talons into Striping Scorpions, which were denying his primary top left. I lethal intended the Howling Banshees out, and then Heroic intervened into the Warp Talons, killed them all. He fought on death, got to fight with 2 of them, and they killed like 1 Banshee or something, and then that just gave me the board. And we got to this point on turn 4 where he had like 2 Forge Fiends, a Vindicator, Abaddon, and some Chosen left, and they were all in his own deployment zone, and my entire army was like across the middle of the board. It was really, really rough for James. It was a horrible matchup for him. He drew appalling cards the entire time, and his dice were pretty rubbish too. And I think the way you would summarize this game was on the final 4th turn. I got behind enemy lines, and I sent my Autark over straight in front of a Vindicator and said, would you like to Overwatch? He was like, no. I was like, cool, I'm going to send a Warp Spider unit over for my second behind enemy lines. Would you like to Overwatch? Yes. He then failed to kill them all. I'm like, cool, great. Autark. Can an Autark take down a Vindicator? Yes or no? Well, historically, you hear about people talk about how amazing Autarks are. Mine have never done anything until today. I threw a grenade. I did 6 4-ups, so that's 6 mortal wounds. I then fire my fusion gun. It hits. It wounds. He fails to save. I roll a 1 for damage when I need a 2. CP reroll. Boom. Autark has just taken out Vindicator all by himself. How stupid is that? And that summed up the game. A 20-0 for me, 93-38. I just denied primary the entire game. I only let James score 3s, and I managed to pull away from there, on top of him not scoring any cards. The round itself went amazingly well for us. We won 75-25. Alex got his draw into the Demons. Lee proved that Bile smashes up Emperor's Children by winning 17-3 there. JP, I think, won 17-3 into the Ynnari. And Harley managed to beat Alex Gins. So there you go. Managed to beat him like 11-9 or 12-8 or something. So big win there. So we're now 3 wins and a draw. And we're looking in, there's 5 other teams we can play. However, there was in fact only 1 team we could ever play, because for those who follow the team will know that the last 3 events running we have played into Vanguard Tactics. So inevitably we got drawn into Vanguard Tactics. We have drawn with them once and lost twice. Every single time we feel like we should have either drawn or won the round. Just little things have gone against us. And this time this was the most confident we've ever felt about beating Vanguard. We were confident in terms of how we were playing, in terms of how we were pairing. We were confident in terms of our team composition. And again, pairings went really, really well. I think they probably misjudged some of the matchups a bit. So we got our Chaos Knights into Green Tide, which we felt was a draw. We got me into Votan, Mr. Jake, the most handsome man in 40k. And they told Jake that if he pushed into me, it was a draw or maybe a small win for him. He told them he felt it was a loss. I told him in turn 2 it was a loss for him, and he was like, yeah, I know it, because he was getting ready to push, but then he was looking at my arm and going, but I don't want to push. We had Harley on the light board into Knight, so that was a bit of a flip. Lee's Bile into Jordan's Blood Angels, which we felt we could win. And we had JP's Tyranids into the Custodes, which JP felt he could keep to a small loss or a draw. Obviously, 4-ups be 4-ups sometimes, but as long as average dice happened, we'd be fine there. The main concern was probably Alex into Green Tide, because Green Tides obviously can just swamp you. But yeah, I got Jake. Jake and I know each other well. We've been on nights out and stuff together. We never got to play before, so this was really exciting. And it was genuinely such a lovely game. So, Jake, if you are watching, thank you. I predicted a 12-8 in this game. I said I'd get a win, but it was one of those things where I was like, well, if I my games always go to time. So, as long as I keep an eye on the time and I just play along and I keep getting reports in from other people, I can decide how hard I need to push and when, depending on how matchups go. So, how did this game go? I think I should also add at this point, in terms of teams, like if you're playing well and you're confident, it will affect your matrix scores. I'm feeling confident at this time, right? I've won 4 games. I feel like I'm playing well. So what was the plan? Well, he had Jaegers, so I got first drop. So I screened the top left-hand side off with Rangers. He put his Jaegers on his natural expansion objective. He did stick them outside of the wall because he was like, well, if someone moves towards me, I can just reactive move behind the wall, inch away from the wall. I'm thinking, yeah, but I could just shoot you and just kill a bunch of them. But again, I went second again, so, you know. And yeah, very similar. So Wart Spiders, Striky Scorpions, and Banshees at the top. Banshees and Wart Spiders in the middle. Incubi Brick and Wave Serpent in the middle as well. Dark Reaper, 5-man, and the other Rangers in my home field. Rangers up, push towards the middle. So Jake goes first. Doesn't really do much. He's really clearly got a game plan of locking down all his objectives, so he sticks a ton of stuff on his natural expansion. And then puts 5 half-kin warriors across the middle. Gets a baby area denial. I'm like, that's fine. You're only getting hold 1, hold 2. I don't even need to commit anything to kill them. I don't really care about them. So I just basically stage a bunch of stuff into my my natural expansion objective. Move forward up into the middle. And say, over to you, sir. He again doesn't do a huge amount, but what I'm very keenly looking at the moment is how much OC and what does he have on his home field. There's no realistic way I can take him off his expansion, but can I get over to his home field? Oh, the other thing, turn 1, Jake shot the 5 rangers and only killed 3. So he didn't even give me a lethal intent move, which was a shame. Because if he had, my Wart Spiders would have moved from my deployment zone line up to the middle and then gone over to his home field and denied primary for turn 2. As it was, that was my play for my turn 2 to deny his turn 3. So basically, I rapid ingress my scatter bikes at the top, roughly where that 8 was. And then that hammered over to his deployment zone line and some Wart Spiders flicker jumped. And so I was able to shoot in and kill some of. He basically had a land fort, which is 5 OC, had 2 units, so a 5-man half-kin unit, which is 10 OC, and then another little Forge Master dude, which was like another 4 OC or something. There's like 5 OC, there's like 20 OC on its objective. Dice weren't great to me, and I ended up leaving the land fort alive. I ended up leaving 1 half-kin warrior and a couple of this Forge Master unit alive. I only had put 6 OC on there, so I had to charge my bikes into the lone half-kin warrior, kill that, -1 to wound, the heroic intervention from the Forge Master and stuff. And I ended up just managing it because bikes actually have 3 attacks each. Fun fact for you. So it is 18 attacks. And yes, I did manage to put him on a 5, but Jake was drawing really good cards. But that was kind of like a little push. Another key moment in this game was I had screened out the bottom side of the board with some with the 5 Dark Reapers, and he brought out the Jaegers to come and charge them. I lethal intented them back towards my Wave Serpent and Incubi, and he still made the charge, and I suddenly was like, oh no, if he kills, he rolled a box cards on it. I was like, if he kills this Dark Reaper squad, he's going to pile it. He's going to consolidate onto my home field and take it. I was like, shit. And then I spotted a lone Incubi who was just a bit further towards the Dark Reapers than all my other Incubi, and who was now in heroic intervention range, and there was no way Jake could have got out of it. So in came the Incubi, the Jaegers died, and that was quite an important moment. I got a bit lucky there to save a mistake. I managed to thin away one of the 10 berserks. Jake spent his whole time trying to mole launch a Incubi because he was worried about them pushing. He was kind of telling his coach on turns 2 and 3, at some point Chris is going to push here. I don't know how it goes. So for now, it's a draw or a small loss, but it could at some point turn bad. The rest of the messages down the line are Alex is still solidly in control of a 10-10 into Ben, which is amazing. Harley doesn't know, he's draw-ish into Jay on his knights. Lee still feels okay into the Blood Angels. The problem is JP is bouncing like hell into Custodies. Like Boxy's just making 4 up after 4 up after 4 up. And JP's score is just gradually going down because Boxy's decided to push. And I'm like, right, okay, I kind of think I need to start pushing here. And I'm like, Harley's done. I'm like, look, how hard do I need to push here? And he's like, well, just do like a controlled push. So the Incubi brick kind of comes out to play. Jake's, I think, panicking slightly. And then enough results come in that it gets turn 4 is now my time, so I'm pushing out. Essentially, the way this works is incredibly dramatic. The message comes to me, Chris, you need 16 points, and we win the round. 15's not enough. At this point, I'm still thinking I'm probably going to get like a 13. I'm like, well, I just don't think that's possible, guys. Like, come on. And I'm like, fine. So I just run everything forward, right? And I'm like, well, if I could burn his home field objective and I could score some cards, like, who knows? Then I look at the scores and I'm like, actually, I don't need to burn his home field because I'm already going to be on 45 points. I'm going to max my primary just with like another burn. There are about 5 minutes left on the clock when I begin my turn 5, and I draw Established Locus, and I draw Bring It Down. I've already killed a land fort near his home field objective, which has exploded and killed his characters on his home field, which I had unstickied, so he doesn't get primary on that turn. And my banshees weren't therefore on that, hadn't had to make a charge to get onto that objective. And then he drew Storm Hostile, so I got really lucky there. And then we're looking at it and we start working out, and he started burning his natural expansion objective with 10 berserks, and he spent ages working out what unit to burn it with, and he went for the 10 berserks in the end. And I'm like, right, okay, so, and we work out that if I can kill the Sagittar up at the top, the Sagittar in the middle, and the land fort, I get the 16 points and I win the game. Then we suddenly realize that actually we've forgotten about the burn on Scorched with the berserks, and that will tip it back to a 15-point win. I'm like, is there any way? Because the Banshees and the Autarch are having to establish Locus for 4 points in his home field. I'm like, is there any way I can do this? And there is. I need to kill the Sagittar at the top. I need to kill the Sagittar in the middle. I need to kill the land fort. And I need to kill all 10 berserks. So, the Dark Reapers let loose. Kill one of the Sagittars. Dark Reapers are at the top of the board where that 8 is. They've controlled that fire lane really nicely. I like that spot for them. That's a really good spot. The dragons light up this land fort, just one shot it. Both units of fire dragons one shot a land fort. Like, that feels bad for the land fort. I've got this conundrum. How do I kill this middle Sagittar? And I just can't. So my only option is Yvraine pokes her head around the corner whilst the rest of the unit gets ready to charge the berserks at the bottom objective, and fires her death wound gun. I'm like, maybe I'll just roll a load of 6s. I think the Sagittar had like 4 wounds left, and I rolled 3 6s for dev wounds. I left it on 1 wound, so there's nothing for it. 5 rangers are going to charge into this Sagittar. So 5 rangers charge into the Sagittar. Incubi brick charges into the berserks. Now, I don't think on average 10 Incubi and Yvraine and the Vizark actually do kill the 10 berserks, because it's 5s rerolling to wound, but it's 2 damage and they've got 5 up for no pain. And sure enough, I only kill 6. On top of that, the rangers obviously don't kill the Sagittar. So it finishes as a 14-6. At this point, I kind of like, I'm so in the zone, but like all of VT were watching, all of 6 of us were watching. There was a load of other spectators. So it was like, yeah, actually, it was like really intense, and everyone knew what I needed to do, because what I loved about this moment, I need to give Jake a shout out here, was that we worked really collaboratively to work out what the points were, and if I did such and such, would I get the win? And at one point, one of his teammates was like, "Why are you helping him?" And like Jake just like had a right go at him and was just like, "Don't get involved." because you can see obviously I'm under a lot of pressure trying to work this out. And I think some people would have acted differently. Some people would have just shut up shop. So Jake was a credit to VT there. Yeah, it's not like he was telling me what to do, but we were just making clear on the points. And if I was like, if I do this and this, would that get me to 16? He was like, yes. So huge shout out there. So we only got 53 points in that game. We needed 55 for the win. Alex was a goddamn hero. Won 12-8 into Ben Jones. He only played his first game of Chaos Knights the day before in round one when he lost 20-0. So to get up to a 12-8 was amazing. Harley won his game 13-7. Lee won his 14-6. We won 4 games. The issue was that unfortunately Stephen Box decided to fail no 4-up in vulnerables, and JP got 20-0'd. We will get Vanguard Tactics one day. Right. So we finished 7th. I had 5 absolutely amazing opponents, all an absolute delight. Always love that. It was nice for me personally. From my perspective, it was great to actually finally just do well. I haven't done well for a while. I mean, I have been playing Grey Knights a lot, so and they're quite drawish, aren't they? I certainly got into a slump of just trying to keep games close, and it felt great to play an army that I could get to turn 3, not lose much, and be like, now I can push, rather than I'm going to carry on hiding. It was good for the confidence, and that was really good for me personally. I think Ynnari shone in our comp. I know other teams it didn't. As I said earlier, Rob felt he kept trying to blunt things for Omegon. And I think so. Ynnari have a place in teams, but I think you have to have the other right tools to deal with certain matchups, which gave me the opportunity to do that thing. I don't put much credit in individual performances in teams because it comes down to your pairings. If it's your job to go and get wins, then you need to get the wins, and you get them, cool, you've done your job just as much as the person who got the small losses, and that was their job to get the small losses into the bad matchups. So it feels nice to have come 8th of 370 people. Actually, I was just doing my job. I did feel like I got it right. You very much have to play this army slowly for the first 2 turns, turn it into a 3-turn game, as Vic says. I think that was really important. And the army just fits my play style, I think. Loads of stuff to like screen and move block and be annoying with. I love the tricks, and that sort of thing. So yeah, it was a really successful thing. The only thing was we didn't beat Vanguard. If we had scored 5 more points, we would have been in the final. So that's sad. And on any other day, on any other dice day, JP gets a 5-15 into Boxy, no problem at all. He reckons it's like somewhere between a 4 and a 7. And that would have put us in the final. So that was 3 events in a row. We've only lost once, which was to Vanguard Tactics, which again was a 1-point loss, and there was a bit of a sketchy game in there, which probably should have gone a bit better for us. So we've been doing really well as a team. So what I think of the army, wow. As mentioned lots of times, the army just projects threat really well. It just says, come at me, bro. And the enemy goes, well, if I do, I'll just lose all this stuff. So I think I'll just stay here. Because it hides so well as well. So yes, the opponent has to just push into it and take the pain and then come out the other side. But in tournament play, you quite often don't want to do that. When in doubt, play slow. Play a 3-turn game. So what I mean by that is there were multiple times where I was like, oh, I could do this, this, and this, and it would achieve these things. So for example, the CSN game, I think it was turn 2, maybe 3. I was like, I can move some water spiders up here, flame in here, kill this rhino, which is part of my home field on my natural expansion. Move block the chosen. And I was like, and then I would lose this, and this unit. I'd lose 5 units and I'd score some primary. And eventually I just went against that place. I was like, I just don't want to lose 5 units this turn. And, I ended up maxing primary, I think, anyway, or getting close to it. So I think my theory was, when in doubt, don't do it, basically. Oh, I could do this. No. Keep your units, play 3, 4, 5 with all your stuff, and you'll be fine. And the heroic interventions part was very key to projecting threat. Get those banshees interweaved, like on the diagonal deployments. Get your wart spiders up against the raw wall, ready to flicker jump over to their home field. Have the banshees nearby. It doesn't matter if they get shots because the banshees are going to heroic. I would say the army is really, really prone to being tagged. And so that's what I found in my second practice game into Paul's MSU Space Rules. Like, I got tagged, I'm shut down, I'm screwed. So you have to be super careful about not being tagged. Really be careful with your measurements and predicting where your opponent can go and that sort of thing. In terms of the units, Incubi Brick didn't really do much, and yet it did so much. It's all about the implication. And if you get that joke, then credit to you. But as I said, I think I probably rolled their attacks 4 or 5 times over the weekend. Pretty much heroic as much as I did charges. But it's just the threat. It's just the projecting of the threat. I really did like having so many infiltrators. The Scorpions didn't get to do their thing of killing something more points than them because I kept going second, but I actually quite like that vibe. And I did gradually improve at using the 10-man Reapers and Scatterbikes. They did their job well on the Sunday. Saturday, I didn't quite get it right. And I still don't think I have. I know where I should be putting them. Just trying to get them there didn't actually work out in terms of the grand back plan. Maybe I should have started them more on the board often. Maybe that would have been a better play. I'm not sure. But yeah, I'll be honest, guys. I really like the list. I wouldn't change anything about that list to improve it. I think absolutely there are other ways of playing Ynnari at the moment. And I think something like, there were times where I was like, I wish I had sticky objectives on the score with the Storm Guardians. And then you have 2 units of, you end up with 1 unit of Rangers and Storm Guardians, basically. So yeah, there's some changes you could definitely make, but it'd then be a different list. So shout out to Vic for making such a great list that works so well on UKTC. So what's next for me? I don't get to play many events these days, so I don't actually have a GT booked again until the next team event in August. I do have an RTT in a couple of weeks, an invitational one. I'm not really painting much at the moment apart from my For Greater Greatness Blood Angels, so I'll probably take Harlequins again, or maybe play some weird Ynnari with the models I actually own, get some Shining Spears, take the Incarn, just have some fun with my old Ynnari build. Unfortunately, most of my Eldar stuff is on the wrong size bases. We are going to be having another King in the Pin soon. I think it's going to be double elimination bracket. That's the league we run for our members in Discord. And I think I might take Wind Rider Host. It's only 2 games if I lose both of them. I want to give Wind Rider Host a go. I think that looks really fun. It's got awesome stratagems. And finally, just got to wait the Ynnari nerf. When I played Paul in my practice game, I think this highlighted it the most for me. We played 2 turns and he was raging and so miserable. He was like, I just want to shoot things. This is unfair. Like, this is so rubbish. And obviously it's not nice to hear that as the opponent. And he got fed up and he just charged into me. And, it actually did work because I got tagged and I messed up a bit. But I was also not enjoying it because firstly, my opponent wasn't enjoying it. But secondly, I wasn't getting to use my rules. Like, I wasn't getting to do my cool Ynnari lethal intent stuff. And so no one was winning there, really. And I know at the highest level, it's basically just you play into Ynnari, don't shoot them, keep charging them and tagging them and that sort of thing. And yeah, the rule needs to change because otherwise it's no fun for everyone. Fair play to my 5 opponents who not one person complained. I think actually in singles, more people would complain about it. I think in teams, they've kind of chosen or been chosen to accept their fate, so they're more accepting of it. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the matter. So If you managed to get this far, thank you so much. I hope it's been helpful for you. Please do like and comment on this video. If you're watching it, there's a 50% chance that you are a subscriber. Why not become one of the ones who are now subscribed? We do post a lot of stuff weekly. We also have a wonderful Discord of nearly 800 members. Loads of chat going on there, loads of projects and schemes and ideas. We've got to make it happen where we're trying to paint every single day at the moment, all that sort of fun stuff. And we do have coaching and membership options. So you can become a member, get access to weekly members only content. Coaching is £6 a month, and then £30 for a call, £44 for a TTS game. We've got, I don't know, like 30 mentees at the moment across the board for us. Like, I don't know, we've got so many people who we're working with. So absolutely get in contact if that's something you're interested in. All the links for the Discord and stuff is below in the old description box. But thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed my foray with Ynnari. I can envisage this being the only time I get to play with them competitively before they get nerfed. So I enjoyed my time in the sun, and hopefully you have found this video interesting and informative. I'll see you again very soon. Take care.